they arrive in Nazareth, and can you imagine the reunion? Can you just imagine the reunion? Anna, Joachim, and all the family, Joseph's mother and father, no, I believe his mother was widowed, all rejoicing, the whole town rejoicing. Jesus grows up there. It's just a normal childhood, just like grew up just very naturally. Brothers and sisters, many by this time. I forget what, there were five boys and 4 girls born to Joseph and Mary. And they grow up and they're gone. And of course, Jesus has learned the carpentry trade from Joseph. I think Joseph probably died when Jesus was maybe, I don't know, 20 or something like that. We have no real record of that, but that's what is assumed. But Jesus stays on with Mary, and don't you think in her heart she thought, I'm always going to have him. I think maybe God was wrong. He's always going to be here, and what the scriptures say is not going to happen. He's not going to go. He's not going to die. He's going to be with me. And but he did go. He did go. We need to remember just the one thing that's written about Jesus in all that time. When he was 12, you know the story. Here he is. They've gone on pilgrimage for the high and holy days, and he's just sitting with the elders. He's just astounding the elders and asking them questions. And Mary and Joseph with their whole, family group, cast of thousands, like the Pettis house, are on the way, and then suddenly they must, where is he? Where is he? It took them 3 days to find him in Jerusalem. And Mary, how could you have done this to me? Like, mothers say. And Jesus just kind of looked at her. He's kind of like in his Father's world at this time, but he has to come back to reality, and says, don't you know I have to be doing my Father's business? I have to. But he went home with them, obedient that he was. But that's all we hear about him, right? Until the age of 30, when he indeed goes into the ministry. John the Baptist, of course, was really big, right then. He was baptizing there at the Jordan. People were flocking to him. And he kept saying, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I'm just telling you. I'm not the one, but there's one coming after me. And Jesus, meanwhile, has gone, it's going to be just 3 years. Just 3 years, people. 3 years that'll change the world forever. 3 short years. He gathers a group of disciples around him. There are the 12, but then there are many more, like, let's say there are 3, like you have like 3 groups of friends, maybe like the close ones, and then the ones that are kind of close, and then ones that are on the fringe of your life. Well, that's what it was. But these 12 with Jesus, and Jesus goes to see his cousin, John the Baptist. And he is walking by, and John looks up and he says, there's the one. It's the one I've been telling you about all this time. I'm not even worthy to tie his shoelaces. But Jesus says, John, you're going to baptize me. And he said, oh, no, you baptize me. No, you are to baptize me. Okay, down into the water. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit comes up. This dove comes right down. And there's a voice out of heaven that says, this is my son. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. And isn't that what we all want to hear? We just want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant, when we get there. So every day of our lives, even when I came here tonight, I said, just let me hear you say, well done. Let me see your nod of approval. That's what we want to live for. Just to live for, just to to bless Jesus, bless the Father, be led by the Holy Spirit. Well, you know, John says, then after, when many of his disciples go and follow Jesus, he's not upset. He knew he was just the forerunner that would tell about him. He said, I must decrease so that he can increase. And isn't that what we should all say? Let me go. I just want it to be all Jesus. Let everything be Jesus. Don't look at me. Just let Jesus be seen in me. And then I will have pleased the Father. And John eventually is put in prison because he had gone against Herod for marrying his brother's sister. And John was just spoke out about it. And Herodias was out to get him. And you know all about the dance and her daughter and all that. So he's in prison. Jesus, of course, is very grieved by that, but his ministry has to happen. He goes around, starts healing, starts doing miracles. The people flock to him, and Jerusalem is getting nervous. All the powers that be of the Sanhedrin are getting nervous, and so they start following him around. They want to trip him up, and they can't. They try everything, but he's just on top of it. They can't get it. And John the Baptist is beheaded, and Jesus hears it. And he weeps. He weeps. But the ministry must go on. When he's traveling, which they do, you know, and there are a few women that travel with him. Let's not think a group of men can go on any kind of a journey without women. They couldn't make it. And so, yeah, there are these women that go along with him and take care of him. Mary Magdalene is one, probably Joanna. Women of means. And but they stay at Martha's house. And Martha loved Jesus. It was said of her, she just loved Jesus. Nothing was too much for Martha to do for Jesus. So when he'd come to stay with all of his band, there were lots of them, and Mary, the sister, and then Lazarus, who was never in very good health. And she'd fix a huge feast. It was just, and people would just hang in the windows even, just to hear Jesus speak, you know, and there were just, everybody would come out. And Mary, who I'm sure had done her part beforehand, would just sit at the feet of Jesus. She just knew Jesus, like nobody else knew, but she knew him intimately because she sat at his feet. That's what he'd like us to do, always, to sit at his feet, to matriculate to the college of the feet, let us say, and to just know him, learn of him, be yoked with him, walk with him, talk with him, to be intimately acquainted with him so that he can speak to us. Well, that was Mary of Bethany. And Martha gets upset. She says she just had a hissy fit in the kitchen. And she comes out and she virtually tells Jesus off. She said, why do you let her sit there? Well, you know how much we have to. And she just sits there. And so Jesus follows her to the kitchen and says, Martha, 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 Martha. And do I want to say that to all of you and to myself? Martha, Martha. You're wonderful and I love you. But you know, Mary has chosen the better part. She's just chosen, and it won't be taken from her. I won't let anybody take that from her. And he would say that to all of us too. I won't let anybody take this from you. if you seek me with all your heart. And in later times, things changed with Martha. When Lazarus was so very sick and he died. And Jesus heard, but he waited 3 days so that he could do something fabulous. He got there. Martha comes running out of the town to meet him, falls at his feet and says, if you'd just been here, this wouldn't have happened. And then she calls Mary, and Mary too falls at his feet and weeps. It says nothing, but they go to the tomb. He said, where have you laid him? They go to the tomb, and he says, open it up. And Martha said, right away, no, it's been 3 days. You don't want to open the tomb. King James says, he stinketh. Beautiful, right? But that's what it says. And Jesus says, come forth. And he walks out. And they said, loose him. And that's going to be us. We're going to get loosed from everything. We are going to be free. We're going to live again, just as Lazarus. Well, they had a big feast, and then it's the beginning of the end for Jesus.